Oh, I just showed a picture of the moon. The moon's really bright. That's cool. Look at that. That is awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned about since moving here. You can definitely see the moon at a low point. It used to be only when I was in Arizona did I ever notice that. Anyway, I hope everybody's 2026 is off to a good start. Happy New Year to all you listening. And I decided to make this video. Cumulative advantage in life. Have you ever heard of the Matthew effect? Simply put, it's a biblical verse. Look up chapter Matthew 25:29. For those who have abundance of things, they shall receive more, and those who are without, it shall be taken from them. Well, you know, words to that effect. You probably noticed this in your life. People who already have something are always the ones who get more of it. And starting from zero, in this day and age, especially, it almost feels like, that's my dogs, they play wrestling. I decided to make a video like where I was leaving the scene rather than coming, because you can get a beautiful view of that sunset. Those streaks in the sky. It looks like an airplane streak. But anyway, starting from zero in society today almost feels like suicide. I hate to sound hyperbolic, but it unless you're like 16 and it's kind of expected or normal, it's very hard to make progress of anything, especially when you get older and feel like the race is already run, your peers are way ahead of you. That's why I feel like there's a little bit of, I'm not quick to jump on these people that like to say, oh, you're just a late bloomer, you got to go at your own pace, don't worry about what other people are doing, you know. Yes, some of us are late bloomers, that's true, and can't help it. A few of us are like that, but the big problem with that is when you're not doing some very fundamental things alongside when your peers are, you do miss out on a lot of the moral support that comes with it, you know, especially things like dating and finding a job, you know, when you're young. When you're doing these things around the average age that your peers go through them, you're going to do a whole lot better versus being older. Like, you really have to get your shit together by the time you're 25 in America if you ever really want to make some strides. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's how this society is. There is no room for, you'll just be left in the dust. But the Matthew principle is a good way to explain why. A guy who already has a job, he goes to an interview, and he's got a better shot at getting that job than a guy who's been unemployed for 6 months. Employers see people who are already employed. They see them as better candidates. Think they're going to be more reliable, and they're not going to just take off at the. And what's another good example? Chad, the dude that is always a devil with the ladies. Chances are Chad was successful with women ever since he was 10 to 12 years old. Why do you think we have this phenomenon where it's not an, hush. You've got dudes that have been successful with women their whole life, and then you got on the other end of the spectrum, you got a 30 or 40-year-old virgin. The 30-year-old virgin is bewildered because he's trying to find the starting line. Another scenario, women who get pregnant out of the blue, usually they always seem to already have had children, whereas a woman who's like, usually she might be in that older age bracket, but it's a struggle maybe to get the first one. I could go on and on. It's just, I don't know. Do you know, you probably heard the old law of attraction, new agey line, fake it till you make it. I don't really buy into that. I really don't know that you can. It never worked for me, but I used to listen to, as long as we're on the topic of law of attraction, this one person in that space. His name was Bob Proctor. I don't know if you've heard of him. But he'd talk about money and abundance a few times. And a lot of what he said just really went over my head until one thing he said in particular. He talked about a poverty consciousness and a wealth consciousness. And that might have been the light bulb moment for me. That's why the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. Because the rich have a wealth consciousness. Of course, I think it comes from their family. So the consciousness starts early in childhood. And the poverty consciousness starts early in childhood too. So, I mean, these things just, patterns, they just early, and you know, I mean, we don't have any control over our early year development, like, you know, environment and all that. We can hope that or when we get old enough, we can make sure we can figure out a plan to overcome it. I'm gonna get another shot of that moon. See, oh yeah, it's going up. It's pretty, but anyway, I'm sure you can think of other examples of why and how, and you've noticed people who always have the best and the quickest and easiest way to get a thing is to already have that thing. It maybe in New Age people talked about it, and maybe they got it from the biblical line that I mentioned earlier. I don't know. It's funny though. Sometimes these things just kind of overlap. I don't know why. I read another book, and I don't remember this guy's name. He talked about acceleration, accelerating acceleration. It's harder to get the first win, the first big win. But after you get that first win, every other subsequent win comes easier and faster. And he called it something to do, some physics kind of, I don't know, I've never been to physics thing. Some law of acceleration. I don't know. Go ahead, take with that what you will, you know. And I was always good. I'm going to give you one more. Reading and writing. I was literate before kindergarten. I mean, that was the one thing I was better at doing than my peers, was reading and writing. And to this day, yes, that's still my favorite subject. I'm still good at it. Not to toot my own horn. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. I was not so good at math. I think these things are just early in life, and then we don't recognize them. We just take them for granted. But let me hear your take. Matthew effect, or the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. Let me hear your thoughts. And I hope your 2026 will be great. And I will hope to make more videos like this. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.